making some sort of statement about CBD. In their normal procedures, anyone or anything that makes a claim about a particular product, a medical claim about a particular product, has to have some justification for it in the opinion of the FDA. The FDA is a really interesting example of what libertarian economists call regulatory capture. The reason for the FDA was created was that pharmaceutical companies, drug companies, were in fact selling products that had either no medical value or actually poisonous, literally poisonous. There needed to be some sort of regulation. The idea that the states could take care of it individually, or that what is tort law, in other words, we'll sue you if you kill us, would do it, simply was not accomplishing its objective. So, as a part of the progressive move in the early part of the 20th century, whatever you may think of progressive movements today, it was very different then because they were dealing with really very basic questions. I think it's really important to observe, again, what is the phenomenon of regulatory capture. So you start off with a real problem, and you start off with really good intentions about how to address that problem, and you pass laws that are demonstrably necessary because they are outlawing things that are clearly harmful. What could possibly go wrong? Well, what happened? The pharmaceutical industry recognizes this process of putting everything through an FDA procedure, letting the government decide what is and isn't medicine, would seem to be an absolutely perfect idea. Human beings are involved, so you're going to have problems, you're going to have mistakes. Don't expect this isn't perfect is not a reason simply to not try to minimize harm. But you really have to be aware of what the potential unintended consequences are. I would say the one law that always works is the law of unintended consequences. As the industry grew up and the FDA's role was established in this thing, that it was accepted that every new drug needed to go through the FDA. Let me give you the most famous example of this. You have a problem that a lot of women have during pregnancy, that is with nausea. So a drug that would help women overcome nausea during pregnancy is certainly a worthwhile product. They came up with a product that in fact did exactly that. The product is sometimes called thalidomide. If you go and look up thalidomide, you'll probably have to look it up because it's from our distant past. Thalidomide did keep women from being nauseous during pregnancy. Unfortunately, it caused genetic defects that the children were sometimes born without arms and legs, or with simply hands growing out of their shoulders, and so on. In England in particular, where thalidomide was widely used, but also on the continent somewhat, was an enormous tragedy. One person on the staff of the FDA insisted, no, we will want testing done in the U.S. before we approve thalidomide in this context. By the time the test could begin, the effects of the children being born with these terrible deformities was manifest. The FDA saved the American people from this terrible tragedy. Bravo. And this was used to prove that the importance of the role of the FDA. The FDA is now being used to suppress cannabis. Drum roll, please. The punchline of this joke is that cannabis alleviates the nausea of pregnant women. So the suppression of cannabis created demand for thalidomide, which then established the authority of the FDA to enable it to ban cannabis medicine. That's all, folks.